Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to this video. You're probably wondering what the hell's going on, and there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. Well, today I have AJ here to help talk through this.
Understand how the cosmos and the stars have aligned in such an incredibly wrong and incorrect way.
Now, if I didn't make the title what I originally thought it was and it's something else, basically, I've been playing Assault Horizon again for the last few days, and I've actually enjoyed it. So...
What? Heretic of the highest order spotted! Be gone!
Yeah, so anyway, now that we're at this point, I feel like it's time to address that and a few other things I never mentioned that kinda just popped up out of nowhere in earlier videos, but I never talked about, specifically about Ace Combat 6 and other games. But I haven't really mentioned that in my channel. So, AJ, what would you like to start out with?
I'd like to start out with Ace Combat 6. This was actually something you wanted to cover on your channel for a while.
Yeah, okay, so, and we'll get into this later, but I played both Assault Horizon and 6 back in like 2016, 2017. Both of them I disliked immensely. Mostly Assault Horizon, obviously, but 6 I just kind of shoved off because I didn't like it. I thought it was enemy spammy. I thought it didn't really have much going for it. It had a bad story.
If I may actually chime in here, if some of you people may have looked at some of Killer's previous videos, like Anchorhead Raid, or some videos like his Anchorhead Raid reviewer videos previous to that, you'll note that Killer does compare the enemy spam of Anchorhead Raid, which he hates, to that of Ace Combat 6, back when he didn't actually replay that game. And there were some other videos as well that included ideas for Ace Combat 7, where he states how much he didn't like Ace Combat 6, so food for thought.
Yeah, there's still a lot of stuff on my channel saying I don't like Ace Combat 6. I never really bring up Assault Horizon that much because it really isn't worth bringing up. But for 6, I replayed it over Christmas, and it was actually really fun. Now, granted, I didn't play through the story. I did play in chronological order. I don't know why I did what I did, but I just played all the missions through free mission. And I really enjoyed myself. I ended up realizing there's a lot more good songs in Ace Combat 6 than I thought, and how helpful the allies were, and how honestly it's not even that stressful. And I think the thing that helped me that much was because I realized there's no time bonus. There's no time bonus in Ace Combat 6. And another thing to mention is I don't know if there's a ranking system in Assault Horizon yet. It seems like there is, but it doesn't seem like...
but it's very vague.
It doesn't seem like you get... It doesn't seem like you get ranked on your first time through the campaign, which is actually nice. I like that. But yeah, Ace Combat 6. The enemy spam is still a problem. Don't get me wrong. Especially on Ace when it's still one missile hit to die, and there's that many enemies. I'm specifically talking about Liberation right now. Liberation is probably the worst of Ace Combat 6, which sucks because it's a really cool or, I don't know, inspiring mission. I like the idea of it, but it's just, it was poorly executed, and it's nearly impossible to get an S rank if you don't want to spend an hour fighting Pasternak. I still have problems with the game, but I like it now.
Which I'm actually especially glad that he's come back around and enjoyed Ace Combat 6. Ace Combat 6, now admittedly, when I first played through Ace Combat 6 and Assault Horizon, I actually did think that both games were actually really good. Yes, I did enjoy Assault Horizon when it first came out. Throw a pitchfork at me if you will. And while Ace Combat 6 has never dropped from that, I always thought Ace Combat 6 was a very good game. Even if the story wasn't all that great, the gameplay was able to carry it, and so were some of your squad mates and your allies, and some of the maps as well. If I may go into one example real quick, Anya Landing is one of the best missions in Ace Combat 6.
I don't think Anya Landing is one of the best missions, but I think it's really good. I love all the explosions. The only problem I have with Anya Landing is it doesn't have chain reactions like Ace Combat 7 added. But it has a stellar soundtrack, one of the best in the game.
Indeed, and it's also just like a perfect mix of air to ground and air to air, in my opinion. Mostly air to ground, which I don't mind. But also, it's one thing I will say regarding Ace Combat 6 is that while your enemies are admittedly rather difficult, especially on higher difficulties because of how maneuverable some missiles are, I think Killer and I can both admit special weapons were probably at their peak in Ace Combat 6. Especially the fucking machine gun in that game, where a tap from the machine gun can kill practically anything.
Well, in their peak, yeah, I'd say so. Because, honestly, in Ace Combat 6, you run out of them pretty quickly because you had to use them. Your missiles didn't really do a whole lot unless they had ESM. So, like, the missiles in that game did not turn at all, and that was a problem in Infinity when I played it. That's also kind of a problem in Assault Horizon. 7 was the first game in a while to make your missiles turn a little bit. Without an upgrade, but even so, it's still pretty bad. I mean, I always play with rust adjusting, so I don't really know what they're like normally, but I don't remember them being very good. Regardless... Yeah?
Oh, no.
Okay, well, anyway, regardless, with Ace Combat 7, honestly, I can say a lot of the reason that see, AJ has said in the last few days that because it was a few years until I like Ace Combat 6 and Ace Combat Assault Horizon, because I played Ace Combat 6 and Assault Horizon. I think I played Assault Horizon after 6, I don't recall, but he said because of that, I'll probably like 7 within a few years. I mean, I'm not gonna take away any credit to that, but I think a lot of the reason I like 6 and Assault Horizon now, which is very recent, mind you, but yeah, the reason I say that is because I think a lot of the reason I like those games now is because of what 7 did wrong. It made me go back and reevaluate what those games did, and honestly, Assault Horizon did a lot of things that I wish 7 would have done.
I will admit that if Assault Horizon didn't have DFM, or they tried to adjust some of the helicopter missions, it might have actually been a pretty decent game. Hell, Killer thinks it's a decent game even with DFM and all the bullshit it has, don't you think?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna go through some of the negatives before I go into the positives.
Of course.
The things I still think are bad is, yeah, I mean... Honestly, DFM, I'm now becoming more neutral on. I still don't like it. I still prefer the normal gameplay type. I mean, it would... The problem with the reason I'm staying more neutral is because Assault Horizon shouldn't force you to use DFM, but the problem with Assault Horizon is the controls and camera are so ass, it's hard to do anything without it. It's not... The field of view is incredibly small in Assault Horizon, and it's hard to control your aircraft, so DFM is almost a necessity when you're playing some missions. And, like, for example, I played Aftermath last night, and I was trying to do it without DFM, but it was very difficult to get my aircraft behind someone properly. That game is probably the hardest game to shoot somebody with a gun in, without DFM, that is. But, for the first time... Well, actually, hold on. Let me continue with some negatives before I go into a positive. So the helicopter missions, I still don't like. I think they're the worst part of the game. But they're actually... I think another reason I've been getting into Assault Horizon now is because I forgot how little other missions there were in the game after the first, like, 5 missions. So the helicopter missions still suck. I think there are some redeeming factors about them, but... for the most part, they still suck. The camera is terrible. The controls suck. I mean, honestly, the controls in Assault Horizon are some of the worst in the series, especially for the helicopter, but Assault Horizon is the first game that forced you to use the crappy controls that Zero introduced, with Select being the map and Square being special weapons. Thankfully, Zero allows you to switch to 5 controls, so I can't really be too mean on it for that, but... the bomber missions are... Hell, is there only one bomber mission? Yeah!
There's only one bomber mission, so if you don't like it, then it doesn't matter, because the section goes by quickly, and... the section... I'm sorry, I had to cough. The section goes by pretty quickly, and then after that, you're introduced to the part where you have to fight off some fighters and destroy an ICBM, which is kind of fun. Although it's a pain in the ass on hard difficulty. And
yeah, the only thing I can complain about with that mission is I don't like how slow the camera moves when you're in the bomb bay.
the one thing I don't like the only thing I don't like about that mission actually is the fact that the ICBM is way too fast. Like, there's no way an ICBM would be launched and be able to turn that hard, and the flame burns you as you get close to it, which is extremely frustrating.
Burning. I wasn't actually sure if it was or not. I thought it was, but I couldn't tell.
Yeah, flame burn damages your plane, and it melts through you on hard difficulty.
Okay. Well, I don't... See, that's another thing I don't get. Why do missiles dodge you in that game? Cruise missiles and that ICBM were trying to dodge. That's stupid. But let's move on to the story. So the story with Assault Horizon, I don't necessarily think it's good. But I gave Modern Warfare a chance, and I decided to give Assault Horizon a chance. And I can say, while I don't think the story is great for Ace Combat standards, I have found myself enjoying it. I actually like Guts, and I like all the four. Even, well... Okay, I even kind of like, what's her name? I don't remember
the AC-130, the woman with that pilot's the AC-130 on the bomber.
Yeah, I don't remember her name.
She was actually my favorite character in the game previously, mostly because I just found the others kind of bland. And she's bland herself, admittedly, but I don't know. I like her voice actress, and she doesn't annoy me.
No, I'm kidding.
I don't find her hot, but
anyway,
I thought her voice work was the best in the game, and she doesn't annoy me, so that's pretty much the gist of it.
No, I actually like Guts, and I like Bishop. I like Bishop because, and this is one of the things I'm saying about Ace Combat 7 kind of did this, but all the games did this, really. I appreciate Bishop way more now because 7 was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back with how much silent protagonists there are. I really like how Bishop is communicating with the squad. I like how, and yeah, I know I'm kind of going into positives here now, but I like how everybody's communicating. I like how they're doing it in a military style, at least. It's not perfect, obviously. It's not what military shadow would actually sound like, but it's kind of close. At least it's trying. Which something 7 really didn't do. Really didn't try a whole lot. But back in the negatives, the story. Besides that, Markov.
Choppers.
Huh? What about choppers?
Choppers. Something to go into detail with regarding negatives.
Well, choppers already went into detail. Oh, you mean the chopper gunner?
Not chopper gunners, but just the helicopter missions in general. Although I guess you could cover that if you think so.
No, I'll cover that.
You were saying Markov.
Yeah, Markov. I mean, I'm not whole way through the campaign yet. I just finished the Moscow mission. I don't think there's a mission after that. I don't think I played the mission after that. Yeah, I finished the Moscow mission and watched the cutscenes with the Markov's backstory. I don't hate it. I mean, I gotta look at this from a different perspective and think of Makarov from MW 1 and 2. Not 1. 2 and 3, rather. I'd probably consider him a copy, because I also have to remember this game came out, like, during the Modern Warfare type stuff. It probably was trying to replicate it. Actually, not probably, it was. But, Markov and Makarov are both pretty bland villains themselves. Makarov is a bland villain. Like, let's be honest here. He was never that good of a villain. And Markov is... Makarov with a stupid reason? I don't know. It was pretty satisfying to shoot down Markov for the first time, to be honest. I forgot that happened.
You didn't play the mission after that, so I'm assuming you didn't see the cutscene that kind of explains why Makarov is doing the shit that he does?
No, I did. I watched everything until the hangar.
Right, so you know that his lover ended up getting killed in an American bombing raid.
Yeah, Krista.
That's the main gist, yeah.
So now I know where that Project Nimbus thing came from. I didn't know that was a thing, because I didn't play Assault as much before that.
Yeah.
Well, besides that, I don't really mind I was about to call Markov. And there's no other character. I don't really hate any guys. I don't hate any characters. So, I mean, I don't. Was it Illich? Is Illich the redhead Russian vodka guy?
He's the vodka guy that betrays you, and he's also voiced by Pixie, another Yuri Lowenthal character in Ace Combat.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of liked him. I mean, until he turned into a traitor. I actually didn't remember that he turned into a traitor. But I wasn't that shocked because he was acting very suspiciously for the latter half.
The woman, you know? Woman or woman?
You sly dog!
You dog!
I really like that. I really like that.
That was one of the funnier interactions in the game.
Yeah, that's what got me to like Gus as much as I have been liking him. Honestly, besides Markov, who is, I guess, a weak link, it's generic, don't get me wrong, the rebel thing is dumb. But, I don't know, I'm not finding myself hate the story. I can't complain about it that much, because it's generic, but what else is there to say? If Modern Warfare didn't exist, I don't think it would be too bland, but that's really just because of what it was trying to replicate. Honestly, I can compliment it and say, at least in the way it was doing, it kind of makes you feel like that pilot that the ground troops called in to help. Like when I fly in with my helicopter with rockets blaring in like a enemy ground position, I feel like I was just called in by air support, like in say the end of the bog in Modern Warfare, to help them shoot the enemy position. It's kind of cool. But onto the helicopter missions. I've already said their camera is awful. It's probably the worst camera in the game, because if you don't fly in the HUD view, you can't see a damn thing. I criticize Project Nimbus for its controls, but somehow the controls on the helicopter are worse. I think it's circle to ascend and X to descend, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I haven't played it in a while, so I can't really tell myself. I think the missions would have benefited a lot if, kind of like Nimbus, it was more like a over the head third-person camera instead of over the shoulder like the Apaches do it. Like it's either left or right side like a third-person shooter. That's annoying.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't like HUD view. I never use HUD view in anything but the helicopter because it's a necessity. I like seeing my aircraft, I like seeing what I'm flying, and I like seeing me compared to the others around me. That's why I think the F-15 is the best, is my favorite plane, by the way, because it looks amazing in a formation.
About the choppers, I will say this. Admittedly, you don't have the DLC for the game. At least I don't think you do, right?
I don't think so. It doesn't allow me to get it.
There's a chopper in the DLC missions, which is the KA-50, that uses unguided bombs instead of 4 AGMs like the Hind and the Apache do. And that is actually extremely fun to use in Ace Combat Assault Horizon. I remember just having an absolute blast just going through the mission using it. And it's DLC, so I don't give Ace Combat Assault Horizon any credit for this, because like I said, it was an added content for later on. But that was one thing I did like about choppers in that game.
Well, honestly, I pretty much covered all the basics, the negatives of Assault Horizon. I guess it's time to explain what the hell happened and why I'm suddenly liking it. So, speaking of... What?
Nah, continue first, then I'll... Just don't wrap up the video before I say something.
No, I'm not going to wrap up the video anytime soon. We're good.
Okay, soon.
So, going along with the helicopter missions, what I can say I didn't even mention the chopper missions, but those don't need to be mentioned. The chopper missions or the helicopter missions, they're, as I said, they're kind of fun to be like the kill streak that the ground support called in. It actually is kind of fun to help out your ground troops and take down infantry and minimize casualties. And that ending segment, was almost a little too difficult. You couldn't just rush in there anyway. You had to take your time and kind of shoot from behind cover. But it was kind of cool how Shooter, kind of just blast through all the enemy air support. I liked it, and yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the helicopter missions. I kind of just wish they didn't exist, because I was having most of my fun with the air support missions anyway. But I like, honestly, the thing Assault Horizon did is kind of what 6 did, to a lesser extent, but 6 is a different story. Anyway, there's 4 characters, and it kind of takes less of the power, or more of the power from the other ones. Kind of like Nimbus did. It makes each character feel less ridiculous, and therefore less of a, I guess, ace, or less of a god-tier ace. Like, you know, everyone else in the Ace Combat series.
The singularities.
Yeah, it makes your character feel more like a soldier, and I've always liked feeling more like a small part of a battle, like just a random soldier in a battle, rather than the main soldier in that battle who does everything. That's why I like Battlefield's multiplayer most of the time. It's really cool how in Assault Horizon you're helping your ground troops succeed, not necessarily just taking control of everything because you're in the air. I like how you're supporting it. And that made one of my favorite missions. I think it's called Pipeline. It's not at all about destroying a pipeline, though. It's about securing a fortress in Russia after a landing. And I really liked it, because I forgot that Assault Horizon, besides a couple instances in the naval mission, doesn't actually force you at any point. I mean, there are a couple other points, I think, but it doesn't really force you to use the ground attack ASM, I think it's called. So you don't have to do that, and it was actually really fun. Honestly, this is what I was saying earlier. Assault Horizon actually made me like ground combat, because enemies couldn't survive a strafe run at all. Like, they were very weak to missiles and strafe runs. And destroying those enemies is very satisfying. I actually really like Assault Horizon's engine. I hate that they are using Unreal now, because that engine was really good for destruction. And it was cool having my friends push up and start taking over the city and taking control of everything. And Siege, I believe is the name of the mission, where the airbase is under attack. I don't think you have to use ASM once in that mission. And I really like that mission.
White Devil, right?
Yeah, that's the one that White Devil plays in. But yeah, I don't think you have to use ASM once in that entire mission. I mean, I use DFM just to get control of my plane, but I don't even think you would have had to use DFM there. Anyway, you got something you want to say?
I guess I'll say a couple minor things regarding Assault Horizon. Like I said, I did originally like the game back when I first played it. It kind of dropped off my radar after a while, because whenever I did go to revisit Assault Horizon, I would just like point out some flaws. I wouldn't have as much fun with it as I used to, and then I would just go back to Ace Combat 6 or another one of the Holy Trinity games. And as far as I know, my Xbox 360 died, so I'll never be able to know for myself, and I'm not going to buy it again for PS3. But it might have just been because the other games were just better, to the point that I didn't really want to bother with it. Maybe it's a decent game in its own right, but after I played through more of the Ace Combat games, I couldn't really see a reason to go back to it anymore. So maybe a part of my judgment for why I didn't like the game that much later on was because of that. But like I said, I did actually like the game when I first played it, and honestly, the biggest thing here is, now that were you hyped for Ace Combat 6 back when you first started playing it? Like, were you hyped to get the disc in and start playing again?
I had no expectations at all. I didn't know what to think.
In that case, I was going to say that the reason that if that was the case, the reason why you're able to enjoy these games again is because you're going at, like Actman says, you got some insight now. You can play them again in fresh eyes. You're more experienced, and you can try to play through the game and be able to work around the flaws that you know it has. And once you're able to do that, you're able to understand and enjoy both games better. Which is something that I wouldn't put it completely aside. But someday, in the next 5 fucking years or so, when Ace Combat 8 comes out, you decide, fuck it, I'll just go back to Ace Combat 7 again. You know of all its flaws, but you still go in anyway. I'm just saying, there is a chance. There is a chance that you can enjoy the that you could actually enjoy playing through it again.
Well, this is a good segue into what I wanted to get into now. So 7 and Assault Horizon. I think 7 is to blame for the reason I like 6 and Assault Horizon now, and I wonder how many people are going to take that saying they think 7 is Assault Horizon. No, I don't think 7 is Assault Horizon. I don't even know if I'd say that I like Assault Horizon better than 7 now. 7,
No, you definitely do.
And 7...
I'm pretty sure you do. I'm pretty sure you do from the way you're acting, but continue.
7 still has good parts to its gameplay. 7 still has some pretty cool moments, some good missions. I think Unexpected Vizier tops any mission in Assault Horizon. Honestly, a lot of missions do that. But that's true. That's a good point. It is DLC. So the best mission in Ace Combat 7 has been Long Day. Long Day is good, but I don't know. The only reason I like Long Day is because it's the least stressful. It doesn't completely push you to your limit like Fleet Destruction and Farbanty do. You have enough time to do pretty much anything, and it's not stressful at all. Problem is, your allies don't help with Jack in it, and that's another thing Ace Combat. That's one of the reasons I appreciate 6 so much now, is because your allies do not help you at all in 7. There's not a single time I can think of in the main campaign that your allies will consistently help you. Sometimes they'll occasionally shoot down a single enemy, like in Charge Assault. Hell, I didn't even know they could shoot down enemies in Charge Assault till like 2 days ago. But they don't consistently help you. Well, besides the ground forces and Stonehenge, they'll fight for themselves. But 6 had them help you constantly. You needed their help to win the battle. Or at least you needed their help to guarantee you'd win the battle. It was very tough to do it without them a lot of the time. But 7 is probably more guilty in the scripting department, or at least equally as guilty as Assault Horizon. 7 has a ton of scripted moments, and 7 has a thing with having unnecessary mission updates as well, which I don't get. I don't remember the exact number, but like probably 80% of the missions, I don't know, like I think all but like 2 or 3 missions have mission updates. And it's really annoying. But every Mihai fight, you think Markov's fight is scripted? Mihai is completely scripted and completely invincible. All of his flight patterns are scripted. I don't know if Markov's are like scripted to go in certain directions. Does Markov always fly the same path?
Yes, he always does.
Okay.
Always does fly the same path.
There aren't as many like enemies there aren't really enemies in 7 besides Mihai and his wingmen that like fly in stupid paths like in Assault Horizon. Like in the first 2 missions of Assault Horizon, you go to there's some crazy cinematic scenes in DFM, and that's really awful. A few months ago when I got Assault Horizon and put it in, I couldn't get, just like when I tried to play it again like a year or 2 ago on the Xbox, I couldn't get through the first 2 missions because they were so boring. And don't get me wrong, I think the beginning of Assault Horizon is still terrible. That second mission drags on for way too long. But after that, it does pick up somewhat. If you can get past the introduction to Assault Horizon, all the first missions for each thing, it actually gets better. That's what I noticed anyway. But 7 has over-scripting, and honestly, that's all I can say about it. I've said all I have about Mihai in the past. I don't need to repeat any of it. He's a terrible boss. And honestly, while Assault Horizon's story is simple, I can't think of any, like, at least major plot holes it has. 7 is one of the easiest to tear apart stories in the series. And again, I don't think I need to go into that. It kind of speaks for itself how easy it is to tear apart. AJ could do it in like 5 seconds. In fact, he does. We're not going to go into that, though. Regardless of that, I think AJ is very passionate about this. So, AJ, you want to talk about silent protagonists?
Thank you, Killer. I will happily take that mic. Okay, so I will be devil's advocate and say that personally I am more partial towards silent protagonists than Killer is. Killer absolutely despises any silent protagonist, and I dislike most silent protagonists. I've kind of grown up with them when I was playing games. I would play through I played a bunch of Ace Combat and Armored Core games when I was younger, and they always featured a silent protagonist. Not so much an Armored Core's case, but I'll talk about that later. But to me, I am okay with a character being silent as long as there is some character to them. This isn't in defense of silent protagonists as a whole when I say that, because let's face it, if you're silent, you don't have any lines, you can't convey character, so it's hard for a silent protagonist to actually have character. The biggest issue that I have with Bishop is that he does speak, which does put him above most protagonists for me, but even with having a voice, he is still way too bland for me to get interested or care about him. I actually do like personally, I would take Mercenary Cypher over Bishop any day of the week. Bishop to other Ace Combat protagonists like Mobius, One, and Blaze, and that's debatable. I would always take Cypher over him, though, any day of the week. That being said, Bishop is, in my opinion, a failed concept with Assault Horizon. They finally went out of their way and had a character with an actual face, with an actual speaking voice, and they even got a pretty great voice actor for him. I actually do like Bishop's voice quite a lot. What do you think, Killer?
Well, in my opinion, and I don't necessarily think that silent protagonist, I don't hate them. I think the difference is I would take a speaking protagonist any day over a silent protagonist. And I can't think of a game that has genuinely made me wish I was a silent one, that I hated the character so much in. Bishop isn't bad to me. I think Bishop is generic, but it's really nice when you're going into his cockpit and seeing him. It's nice when he's chatting. The thing about the thing you mentioned, and I'll let you get back to your thing, but Cypher, my problem with him, and the reason that I was hesitant to agree with you completely on Mercenary Cypher is, while Mercenary Cypher is cool and a really good character in, everything he is. Yeah. The only way he works is if he's flying with other people and other people are talking about him. He can't stand on his own. And Bishop could, even though he's generic, technically he could stand on his own because he speaks. You know what he'd be like because he can still speak. Cypher can't do that. If Cypher was on a solo flight, almost nothing would happen. That's another reason I really like Breaking Arrows and Safe Return. They're so boring. Nothing really happens. Without allies talking about you, there's nothing. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. Like I tried to say, and I guess you obviously know like the greater than and less than signs in signs, and
yeah,
you obviously know the greater than and less than signs. For me, for like what I prefer the most to what I hate the most is a speaking character that has an actual character to him and like growth and development and such. That's obviously the best. Then it would go to a silent character that has actual character that has actual character to him. Although the only guy I can think of that actually does this is Cypher. So take that as you will. He's the only character I can think of that actually does that. Then I would take Cypher over a speaking character that has no character to them, which is Bishop. I take Bishop over a silent character, and I take a silent character over an annoying character. Hey, listen, I take a silent protagonist over fucking Kirito any day of the week. For lack of a better example.
Well, some examples of silent characters with no personality whatsoever. I think the worst. Well, no, not exactly, because Blaze and Mobius still have personality. At least you can give them personality, or at least Blaze. Mobius already has his own, just based on what he's done. I think some of the worst examples of silent protagonists doing literally nothing is, sorry to say, Talisman. We had to completely write Talisman from scratch when we've been doing Ace Combat 8 stuff.
I managed to make him work based off his age and the fact that he was younger than the other, so that was something, but trying to think of character traits for Talisman was an absolute pain.
Yeah, the Avatar in Sonic Forces has no character at all. He just kind of goes with whatever Sonic says. He's not even impressionable. He's just kind of there, and I hate that. And it's like they didn't even write him as a silent character because he kind of speaks to someone. Like he doesn't actually say anything, but a character like responds as if he did say something, like they knew he was going to say, but he didn't say it. You'd have to watch Sonic Forces to know what I'm talking about. But Trigger's probably the worst example I could think of because Trigger is perfect. He's a Mary Sue. Like, everybody loves him, and he doesn't do any. He never fails once. I don't think he fails a single time in the entire game. And everybody loves him right off the bat. And anybody who dislikes him is evil. But he doesn't have any character of his own. Nobody ever talks about what he's like. See, that's the thing about, maybe not Mobius. I don't know if anybody talks about what Mobius is like. But Cypher, people talk about what kind of person he is, kind of. Hell, the villains hate him.
They convey who he is through the actions that he takes. Like in Mercenary Route, they mention how he touches... Like in Mercenary Route, they mention the fact that he touches literally anything and it just falls apart. And if you're in the plane that he attacks, you're not either escaping or bailing out. You are pretty much guaranteed to die.
Yeah, Blaze, you can give personality. And I appreciate that. I think Blaze should... We're representing Blaze in, like, his... I guess, most realistic way possible, or most nice way possible. But, you can kind of give him character depending on what you respond and how you fly, or rather what you do. Most people don't seem to even give their squadron orders, but he's more of a captain than I think any other ace. But regardless of that, honestly, this isn't a silent protagonist video, but the point I'm trying to make is Bishop is not a silent protagonist, and therefore I like him more than pretty much any other Ace Combat protagonist. Maybe even Cypher, but that's still on the table.
Mercenary, Cypher, and Bishop can compete with one another. Outside of that, me and Killer pretty much wholly agree on this. I'd take Bishop over anybody else. Mercenary, Cypher, I would take him over Bishop. For Killer's more debatable. Sorry to chime in.
Yeah, I just like that Bishop talks to his guys. Guts is a more likable character because of Bishop, I'd honestly say. Because Bishop is the guy shutting him up instead. See, that's another thing. You have to rely on other characters to shut annoying characters up. If you're stuck with an annoying character as a silent protagonist, you're stuck with them. And that's the problem in Skyrim. But, Bishop tells Guts to shut up when he gets annoying. Nagase and Grim have to say that to Chopper when he gets annoying. And I don't think Chopper's annoying, by the way. I'm just saying he can get annoying sometimes. But, yeah, that's all I pretty much have to say on Bishop. I like him because he's not a silent protagonist. But if they made another protagonist who wasn't silent, I'd probably like him more. Because there's not a high bar to beat when it comes to Bishop. You just need to make a not-silent protagonist. So, anything else to go over before I wrap this up?
Honestly, I think that's about the best way to really cover it. And you're not done with the game. And I personally think that the next... I think Assault Horizon really falls apart in like the last couple missions, because that's when the scripting really starts to get in the way. In fact, I think if you just beat the Moscow mission and didn't continue from there, you're only 3 missions left from beating the game.
Right. Yeah, I'm just saying, the missions, like, pretty much every mission after, like, the first 4, I believe, that's been at least enjoyable. Or at least kind of there, but mostly enjoyable. I really like the missions. My 2 favorite missions in the game are Siege and the Pipeline, which is the Fortress mission. I didn't really like the Naval one because it was a little ridiculous. It was kind of trial and error. But it was still fun. I like the ship sinking animations in that game. They're really cool. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there's much more to say.
I will say one minor thing, I guess, regarding speaking characters. Scarface 1 in Ace Combat 1 and 2 actually did speak. He didn't have, like, he didn't really have actual dialogue to him like some like some lines that he would say. He would just kind of like give an order to his wingman every now and then, and then he would have like a bit of sense of humor. He'd go like bingo, I'd laugh whenever he destroyed an enemy target, or point out how he found some enemy targets, or he's locked on, or he's in range, something like that. Like, he very rarely does give orders, and he does have like lines that he says whenever he's fighting. And he does have a sense of humor that we know of, but he doesn't speak anywhere near as much as Bishop. And in Assault Horizon Legacy, they completely removed the little dialogue that Scarface 1 had, and just had the wingman speak for him. So take that as you will.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played Ace Combat 2 or Assault Horizon Legacy, but actually, how much does Assault Horizon Legacy have DFM? So I don't...
You don't have to use it, but like, it's a very weird mechanic to explain, but I'd rather not do that in the middle of this video. I'd say you should wrap that up first.
Okay, well, I think that's about all we can really go over at this point. So, Assault Horizon is not my favorite game of the series. It's not even close. It's not better than 7 entirely. I think there are parts of it that are better, and I think 7 screwed up a lot of things. And Assault Horizon had a lot of better things than 7. I think each game has its own things that are better than other games. I think 7 has just opened my eyes a lot. And honestly, I can just say thank you, Ace Combat 7, for making me like 6 in Assault Horizon. You made me hate. You made a game I swore to hate. A game I actually like now. So, if anything, that's a good thing Ace Combat 7 did, because now I like Assault Horizon and 6 because of it. It made me seriously reevaluate the series.
If the thing I'm going to be surprised of, if you were able to actually get into and like Ace Combat Assault Horizon, I honestly do wonder if Ace Combat 7 will ever grow on you. Because if Assault Horizon can grow on you, then it would be ridiculous that 7 couldn't even grow on you one bit, and you always retain those thoughts. We're gonna have to wait and see.
I think what to take away from this is kind of me branching out from the community, and just honestly at this point I'm really going against what the community thinks, because that's a lot of the reason I'm doing. I want to reevaluate the game, not just because 7 had a lot of problems that I think Assault Horizon fixed, but because there's a lot of disdain for Assault Horizon in the community. If you like Assault Horizon, you are immediately hated for it. That is how the Ace Combat community has been for years, and it's the same way with 7, except the opposite way. If you don't like 7, you're hated for it. And I wanted to go back and reevaluate Assault Horizon. Why do people hate it so much? And I see why people hate it. But there's a lot of enjoyable parts about Assault Horizon, and if the community hates me for it, well, boo-hoo, they already hate me for disliking 7, so it's not really my problem, and I'm not a part of them anymore. So, anyway, that's all I can really say on that matter. Assault Horizon is not that bad of a game. Coming from somebody who
hate it.
Yeah, and whose favorite games are the Holy Trinity for Ace Combat. It's not a terrible game. It's just got a lot of problems. But, and I could probably say the same thing about 7, but I don't know. I honestly, 7, I'll let you speak, but 7 has, okay, honestly, I think the difference between Assault Horizon, Assault Horizon has a few big problems. Assault Horizon has a ton of small problems. 7 has a ton of small problems. And they all stack up, with a couple major problems mixed in there. Anyway, go ahead.
I think the real thing here that you are able to like about Assault Horizon, but really dislike about 7 is Assault Horizon tried to go out and do something differently. It tried different mechanics like DFM, chopper missions, bomber missions, and even attacker missions with the naval warfare thing. Like, Assault Horizon tried to do something differently.
Yeah, honestly, there's something I can say about Assault Horizon that I cannot say about 7. I feel passion behind Ace Combat Assault Horizon. There was passion in that game. There was no passion in 7. I think the development team was squeezed for time and didn't care anymore.
Ace Combat Assault Horizon tried to do something different, and while some things didn't work, you obviously just went into detail. while some things didn't work, some things did. Ace Combat 7 follows the same Ace Combat formula that all the previous games, like the Holy Trinity and Ace Combat 6 follow. Silent Protagonist, Silent Protagonist, stuff like that. It followed the same formula as previous games, but it did it worse.
Honestly,
Assault Horizon may be worse than the other games, but it tried to do some things differently, and some of those things it did differently are actually kind of enjoyable for you.
Yeah. At this point, I could say, if I could play multiplayer and play co-op, especially co-op, I probably could put 7 above, or Assault Horizon above 7. I don't think I'd get it to Joe's review, like where he gave it an 8. It probably would still be a 6 or a 7, but it'd be better than 7. I think 7's a 6 for me, out of 10. And I think Assault Horizon has a lot of better qualities over it, and the multiplayer is one of them. The fact that Assault Horizon was built to have a co-op campaign. 7 looks built to have a co-op campaign, but doesn't. Because I don't think there's a single mission you don't have a wingman, or at least like a flight lead in. So, yeah, other than that, I think that's pretty much all I have to say on Assault Horizon. Yeah, so. Say your last thoughts, AJ.
Not much to say from here, Chief.
Okay, well, if everybody made it this far, thank you for watching. Try not to blast me in the comments for heresy or whatever, but...
We're gonna get blasted, dude.
Yeah,
we're gonna get fucking blasted.
Yeah, if anybody from the Ace Comic community watches this, we're dead men. We're gonna be excommunicated. Well, you're gonna be excommunicated. I already was, but
I was never a part of the community. I never even went on the Ace Combat Reddit. I only just visit there every now and then to see memes.
Okay. Well, anyway, please try not to be too cancerous in the comments, and I'll try my best as well. So, anyway, thank you for watching. This has been interesting. I'll finish up Assault Horizon and maybe get my thoughts on that afterwards. But besides that, thank you for watching. Stay frosty, and the price is right. Good day.
Good day or good night.